Yes, I am a doctor. I will fix your arm. Good. It is broken and I would not like that. You're welcome. We will put it in a cast, right? We don't want to see people just build a relationship that you see in day-to-day life. What makes it interesting is having a unique form of logic.
Greetings, everyone. Come on in and have a seat up front for the Funny Muscle Podcast. If you're here, then you're looking to learn how to create laughs like a pro. So please help me welcome to the stage your co-host to help you do that, economics professor and open micer Chris Stifler and comedian turned author Mike Lucas.
What's up? We are very pleased to have today with us. This is the intro. We are very pleased to have with us today one of my friends from the Dallas Comedy Club. She is a improvising teacher, and she is also an improvising maven. She works with me on the Mike to Mayhem show, and she's wonderful. She is Brittany Taylor. Brittany K. Taylor. I said Brittany Taylor.
I'll take it.
It's close enough.
It's close enough. Well, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we're excited to have you here. We don't often have improvisers on the show, so we're a little bit nervous about what could happen because we're used to planned attacks. What is up with you? What is your daily activity going on right now? What are you working on?
Well, I will tell you, because I'm on literally cloud 9 right now, because not only do I perform improv, but I also teach improv for corporate workshops, which is the delight of my life. It truly is. So I've had the great fortune of being able to study at UCB and Second City, and really fun to do that in LA. But especially if you do a scene and it doesn't go well, everyone comes off stage and they're just like, ugh, I'm never going to make it onto Gossip Girl or whatever. It's just, everything is so life or death with comedy. And then coming to Dallas and doing comedy and improv in this area is so much fun because there are people who just are doing it for the love of it and the joy of it, and not to be able to have a relationship with Rachel Bloom. But so I've recently been doing more corporate workshops, which is excellent. So I actually met with a lot of women who are women in tech, and they are ninja vipers, and I will take them through an improv exercise and they will be like, yes, and then nod and then step back. It just like they're so
oh ho ho.
Yeah, it's so funny because they are so like strategic and technical, and they really lean into that formula idea. But to get them to move into like storytelling and building a story and creativity and then building a takeaway out of that, it is so fun because it blows their minds.
Right.
It's a blast. So that's a lot of what I'm up to recently. And I did a full day workshop yesterday, which was so fun. So it's just fun going into a corporate office where I am an insane person with very professional people, getting them to pretend to be a mechanic. Excellent.
You're good at finding, but you're really good at getting into the game of the scene. That's what I love about your improvising on Mike to Mayhem. You're fast to listen to what the story is and then find the nuggets that are in that story. What do you attribute that to? Is that listening? Is that your creativity? What?
I thank you. I appreciate you saying that because it's actually one of the things that I love about Mike to Mayhem. And you've given me an excellent gift to be able to do that format where you're pulling ideas from storytelling and really essentially taking the story as a metaphor and then re-exploring that theme in a different context. Yeah. I've always been a fan of metaphor. I think my background is actually playwriting. I'm an award-winning playwright. So I don't know if you know that. Yeah, so I've had won quite a few competitions, had some pretty cool productions and stuff, and then I was like, oh wow, so much work for no money, great. So I really enjoy playwriting, but yeah, I like the metaphor. I really like to be able to, and for people listening, the format of like listening to a story and then improvisers coming in and taking themes from that and building upon that. It is so delicious to my brain. and locking into certain specificities and then getting to reimagine it in a new space. So I don't know. I guess I would attribute that to a writing background and
Okay.
being able to like capture theme. Honestly, it's one of my favorite shows that I'm in currently
Oh,
because
good.
it's such great, and it's so wonderful to be able to blend different art forms in one
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, and it takes the pressure off the stand-ups to be hilarious every second because they get to
Yes.
tell a story, a legitimate story,
Yes.
and it takes the pressure off the improviser to get everything off of one simple suggestion because there's so much life coming from those monologues that the comics are
Truly.
giving. So
Truly. And it's so fun to be able to champion another creative artist
yeah.
art form to
And jumping from instead of A to B, going to A to C or A to D, and that's what I love about what you do is you figure out ways thematically to go in a direction that's not obvious, and that's the key, right? Is finding, somebody talks about gold in their monologue, and then you bring out a pirate scene. It's fun to have like that kind of thinking going on.
You know, I also really appreciate you have such a great team that you bring to that show. And there are two moments I can think in particular where I was honestly to any other team probably a little bit of an asshole, you know what I mean? Because I am like kind of stealing the stage a little bit. One of which is when I sang that song from the Dare program. Do you
Oh, I
remember
love that.
that?
Yeah, that was great.
So for those listening, it mentioned, like doing recreational drugs in their teens. And so I sang a song that I really sang from the Dare program in the
That's
fifth grade.
great.
And I sang the entire song. Asshole move, truly, to sing an entire song. But I had no idea what was going on behind me. The audience was losing their minds, and the tech jumped in and was doing some great stuff. But you all were behind me doing recreational drugs.
Right. It was great.
um,
That's the support of improv, and it's what
ah,
makes your commitment pay off.
right, because it's kind of a ballsy move to just continue to sing.
Right.
And gosh, I mean, and y'all did the heavy lifting there, but
Well, doing recreational drugs is difficult, but I'm willing to pitch in whenever possible.
I
So,
wouldn't know how to do it. I'm so pure. I'm like
yeah,
holding
you're innocent,
like, I'm holding pot like a cigarette and a cigarette like pot, and people are like, really, you need to,
you
get
inject
out
that.
there on the
You need to
streets.
inject it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, let me do
Some
some
weed.
420, and
Some
it's
420 in my veins.
what is it, subcutaneous? Try to sound smart.
Right. So you teach improv at the DCC, the Dallas Comedy Club.
I do.
What's one misconception that students walk in that you have to gently or not so gently snap out of them? Like,
That's a wonderful question. I actually will. My biggest misconception is actually more in teaching corporate events. Everyone is terrified of me. They are terrified of me because they've been
really?
forced into that situation. Oh, it's the biggest thing I go through. Especially too, because a lot of people reach out to me. They were like, I asked ChatGPT what we could do for professional development, and it said improv is one of the suggestions. We'd like to bring you out, but we're not going to tell anyone what they're doing because they will not show up.
They'll just
Uh,
ghost you.
yeah, they think they're going to have to cluck like a chicken. They think they're going to be embarrassed. And
That's
so I
funny.
would say too, and even for classes as well, one of the things that I tell my students is I really believe that improv not only makes you a better, person at your workplace, but a better in your relationships. I think improv makes you a better citizen of the world.
Yeah.
And I'm very passionate about teaching this comedic art form, and especially when they're taking it specifically for a comedy class. I come in, I'm like, I don't care if you're funny. What I really want you to do is be able to listen really well and
Yeah.
respond really well. And the funny is going to happen because just by nature, the spontaneity of improv is a lot of what makes improv funny.
Yeah.
The unknown and your nervous system being like, is this going to pay off? And then when it does, it's really delicious.
Yeah.
But really, I kind of I was like, I honestly don't care if you're funny. I want you to get these formulas down. And truly, too, some of the best improvisers I've ever witnessed or come across are terrible initially. They're terrible. And then they click into those formulas and it's like a
Right.
bamboo shoot. It goes through the roof. So that's the big misconception. I really come in and say, I really don't care if you're funny. I care about you getting these formulas and being able to execute them technically, and the funny is going to come.
Yeah, I really believe that if you know what to practice, then you can become funnier. You're not necessarily going to go from being not funny to funny, but you're going to become funnier because you are recognizing the game that you're
Mhm.
playing suddenly, and then you're spontaneously playing
Mhm.
that game.
Yeah. I think some of the best improvisers are, logic smart. They understand
Yeah.
formulas and they can really sustain a long scene because they create the game and it gives everyone else an opportunity to play with it. I mean, if you people haven't heard, there's three archetypes in improv. It's the pirate, the robot, and the ninja. Have you heard that one specifically?
No, no, what is this?
Okay, great. This is something I say all the time. So the pirate is going to be people like me who have a lot of energy and we can
Right,
coast for vibes and we're like Babe Ruth. We swing for the fences and we get great laughs, but we also can also get great strikeouts. Um,
right.
these are the people who are processing trauma in front of others. They're just the big personalities. They're the very big personalities, gregarious, outgoing. They have a great sense of connecting with people and making people laugh and running with a bit, right?
Yeah,
And then, so that's a pirate. Then you have the robot. Those are going to be like the engineers of the scene, the logic smart people.
yeah.
And a lot of times, the robots can sometimes struggle conceptually because they need to upload that software that has the formulas.
Right.
So they're like, I'm sorry, why would Betsy Ross be in a Taco Bell? Like, that doesn't make sense. Taco
There
Bell
were no
wasn't
Taco Bells
around.
back then.
There were no, yes, exactly, because they're so logic smart.
Right,
And then once it clicks for them, they're like, oh, if Betsy Ross is going to be in a Taco Bell, George Washington is going to be at Pizza Hut. This makes sense to me now.
right,
And it's so funny because the class clown will come in and get instant laughs because they can shake their ass and they can, work for the bit really quickly. And then all of a sudden, once those robots figure out those formulas and are making these really strategic moves, it's almost like you racquetball. You're not running all over the court. You're just hitting just
right.
the wrist.
Positioning.
Yeah. Whereas like a pirate is going to be running off court on the tennis court into the stands to get a ball, right?
Right.
And then the last one is going to be ninja. Now I have so much envy for ninjas because I am nothing like a ninja myself. Um, ninjas are the ones who are chill, not me. They kind of hang out near the back line. They wait for their moment and they just like throw a ninja star, hits immediately. They're not doing any running at all, right?
Right.
Hits that bullseye and gets a huge laugh because it comes completely out of left field. Eyes are not
Right.
on them. So you have that element of surprise. And they're usually really intelligent at crafting language. They are not Babe Ruth. They don't swing at everything. They wait for the perfect ball and it's going to go completely outside of the stadium.
Mm.
And yeah, Pablo is definitely one of those like ninja players.
Right.
If you've worked with him,
I've
yeah,
watched him. Yeah.
yeah, he's so funny to me because especially early on playing with him, and I'm so impressed by him right now. Right now, I'm obsessed with Pablo. Um, he'd always just kind of act like the drunk uncle at the birthday party who's like, "Don't make me play a game." Okay. Like he just kind of like, he's just like, "All right, I'm here to have a good time." Man, I don't know what is in his breakfast, but he is such an incredible ninja player where his language is so smart and he
Yeah.
just, I mean, he's hitting balls way out of the stadium with such minimal effort. And it's incredible to watch. Wouldn't be me. I'm running laps.
Right.
So yeah, those are kind of the three archetypes: pirate, robot, ninja. Pirate's going to be all those character actors, all the big
Sure.
personalities.
I'm a
Uh,
pirate. I'm definitely a pirate.
I can see a little bit of a robot in you as well. You're a
Yeah,
good
I'm a little bit of
engineer.
robot too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone has a little bit. But robots really engineer the scene. They're really good at finding the game and securing longevity in the scene.
Yeah, that'd be
And
me too.
then,
Yeah, I like that.
mhm, you're definitely that as well. And then I would say the ninja is the person who comes in and salt bays
Yeah,
and put all that flavor and seasoning on it.
I know
And you
people
really
who
need all
are all
three.
those. Yeah, I know
Mhm.
people who are all those.
Yeah.
All the different ones. That's real interesting. I wonder how that applies to stand up. I wonder if there's because we're not really making choices in stand up.
It's true.
We're regurgitating material and we're doing it like it was the first time ever.
Mhm,
So it's a
mhm.
different sort of art form.
I definitely think, though, you can see those types in stand up, even though
Yeah.
it's obviously not spontaneous. I mean, anyone who's going to be like Larry the Cable Guy, anyone who's going to be kind of playing a character, definitely going to be more of your pirate. Anyone who does incredible crowd work as well, Stavi, excellent. He's great at crowd work. He's going to be a little bit more of your pirate. Some of those people who are a little bit more technical, Dimitri, a lot of those word
Right.
puns, you know what I mean? Who can also, people who can sustain a running joke for a really long time. Those are definitely going to be some more of that robot energy.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
true.
and I would say some of your lower energy players or stand-ups who kind of like have an even kill and then throw a surprise curveball, those
Yeah,
are going to be more of that.
that's true.
But I
Yeah,
think that's
you're right.
harder. I would say that would be a harder to be a successful ninja. You have to earn a lot of trust and make people expect a good payoff.
But like Mitch Hedberg was probably like a ninja, he
Mhm.
was real low key and then he would hit you with something really hard that you didn't suspect would be even funny.
And it's so powerful. And
It
that's what's
really
so
is.
great because if a stand up can do that successfully, because you have to get that buy in from your audience because you're not getting as many laughs per minute, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be able to build trust with your audience where they know there's going to be a payoff, but the payoff still has to be enormously surprising that it's effective.
Yeah.
But if you can do that, it's, it's
It's
really,
powerful. Yeah. It's
really
powerful.
powerful. Yeah.
I love that.
Can you be like, if you are a ninja, can you
Mhm.
work on your pirate skills to be even better? Or when you become a pirate, does it take away from the ninja because it doesn't come out of left field? It's not as spontaneous and like sly.
That's a great question. What I would say is, especially when I'm teaching, is what I love about improv specifically, and this really applies to stand up as well. Unlike many art forms, you get to bring who you are to the table. Like you bring your lived experiences, you bring your proclivity, you bring your special interests, you bring your unique people skills. I get to do like a little on stage, a little hand horn, you know what I mean? Most likely, if I were to audition for the Sound of Music on a regional theater, there would be no need for such, right? But I get to bring myself uniquely to any performance. And also, I get to uniquely be people that I would never be in any other type of performance as well. So when I speak to that, I'm like, listen, improv, you don't need to have all the tools, but you want to have as many tools
Yeah.
as you can have, right? So it's definitely great to diversify yourself. For me personally, so embarrassing. My phone's ringing. I'm so popular. Did I not put that on silent? Oh,
That's me calling you to tell you to put it on silent.
it's like, hey, is this gonna ring? You
Hey,
sure?
I need you to set that off. It's about to ring.
That's so funny. For me personally, I'm definitely a pirate, but I definitely have quite a bit more robot ability than I often do, just because sometimes I want to play the role that I feel like is going to be the most effective in the moment, if that makes sense. Whereas
I think you're in the Mike to Mayhem, your robotic self comes out quite a bit.
it does. And that's a
Yeah.
real big delight because really you don't get as much of that with short form, which I've been doing more
Right.
recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your gameplay is fun too. And
Yes.
do me a favor, and for our
Mhm.
audience who are newer comics, talk about what it is. What's the game to you? Like what do you think
Yeah.
when you say I'm going to find the game and play the game? in a
Yes.
scene?
The game is a mystical, magical thing. It's hard to grasp if you're new to comedy. It's like a man who's never made a woman orgasm. Conceptually, they know that it's something, but they don't know quite what it is or where it is. So it's sometimes hard to define, but it does it does exist. It's
I've
not a
found the
myth.
game before. What do you mean? I've found the game. I've lots of times. And I've played it.
What is
Twice
Huge.
or
this
three times.
podcast
He's right.
rated? Okay. I'm sure you're excellent at finding the game, Mike. So the game is really anything that you can really truthfully heighten and exploit. It's an idea. So really in improv, what you're doing is improv is building a characters and relationships on the spot for the impact of comedy. And it's also creating a unique logic that allows buy-in from your audience, right? Because we don't want to just watch people to pretend, right? We don't need to see someone be like, hi doctor, my arm is broken. Can you please fix it? Yes, I am a doctor. I will fix your arm. Good, it is broken and I would not like that. You're welcome. We will put it in a cast, right? We don't want to see people just build a relationship that you see in day-to-day life. What makes it interesting is having a unique form of logic. Generally, we find that by the first weird thing or the first interesting thing. So in that scenario where someone has broken their arm, maybe just be like, yeah, you know what I mean? Crazy first date again. It's like, oh.
Happens every time.
It happens every time. You know what I mean? What does that mean? That's going to be a weird logic. It's like, yeah, just classic first date. Oh, I mean, I don't mean to pry. I'm a doctor and I respect HIPAA and personal, but I have to ask, what put yourself in this circumstance, right? And then whatever that could be, it could be like
During the karate chops. It was during the karate
exactly.
chops.
Like the only dates they do are horseback riding because, like, oh yeah, no, first date's equestrian. Second date is water skiing. I don't know what, this is coming up on the moment, but it's like, you really don't have to go horseback riding on a first. Yes, you do, and figuring out why that logic is the way that it is and then exploiting it. Right. So putting them in circumstances where then we see them have their unique logic. Right.
So in that case, the game would be, I on first dates, I do something dangerous.
Yes, exactly. And then understanding the logic behind that so we get buy-in. So maybe it's just like, yeah, I have a terrible personality. I want women to be trauma bonded to me. So the only successful dates I've ever had is where they're slightly terrified, but they feel like I'm adventurous. So I need to put myself in these situations. So it's like, oh, then they meet a beautiful woman and they're like, extreme knitting with knives, whatever that means. So you can exploit that logic and put it in new circumstances. Another example is, let's say there's a woman who desperately wants to get back at her ex-boyfriend, just desperately wants to get back with her ex-boyfriend. That they're going to go through potentially extreme measures to that. So that might be showing up at their dad's funeral dressed like a baddie, and it's like, what are you doing here dressed in a tight leather mini skirt? She's like, well, I've been working out and I got the invitation. You know what I mean? And then now what else are they going to do? What other inappropriate circumstances are they going to be in to kind of get that into attention? So we know what the character wants. We know their unique and flawed logic to get what they want. And then we want to see that in different circumstances.
All right. So that's what the game is. That we're playing a game by doing that, which is it's a concept that we are always in search of. You're right. And we're trying to find what that means. And we're trying to find that in a group mind.
Yes.
So that you and I both find the same game to play.
And there's different ways of doing it, like an interesting friendship, and we see them in middle school, and then we see them in college, and then we see them in the nursing home, and they have like an interesting relationship, and we can see that. That's the game of how they relate and act with each other in different contexts. We see it a lot with dating relationships too. First date, marriage, old age, right? It's a really great way it's a simple way to exploit or elevate a game.
It's nice.
Hopefully that makes sense. It's hard to explain. It's very cerebral, but once you see it and you anticipate it, and I mean, essentially what it is, it's finding kind of a metaphor again.
Yeah.
and putting it in different context.
And then heightening it, making it worse, making it weirder, making it
Yeah.
angrier, funnier,
Yeah.
crazier, all
Yeah.
those things.
Because Mike's been teaching me the game for the last 2 years. I can even see it with like writing. Like once you
Mhm.
like do a metaphor, like the my Facebook algorithm is like an evil Batman villain. And then once I wrote that, I was like, okay, then that's the game of the article, the 800 word article. I'm gonna have a callback to pow, zip, bang, bang, and like the old school 1960s, Batman villain. And then you have like, next time on the show, will the Cape Crusader blah blah blah, and then suddenly like, oh, that's the callback of that's the game of my article now.
Yes, exactly. You create the formula that you can then heighten. That's essentially what it is. You put two different things together that don't necessarily obviously work together, but you find the connective tissue of the logic of why they serve each other, and then you just heighten it. And it does work for stand up, right? Because I recently did a bit about Wolf Brand chili. There is a commercial for Wolf Brand chili that as a child I had sleepless nights over because this cowboy, he looks up at the camera and he's like, "When's the last time you had a thick, hot, steaming bowl of Wolf Brand chili?" Well, that's too long. And as a child, we ate Wolf Brand chili all the time. So I'm like, "Sir, I just had Wolf Brand chili for lunch. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean that's too long? What if I was mid spoon to my mouth
That's too
holding
long.
Wolf Brand
That's
chili?
too long.
What if I have a IV and I have
Too
a
long.
constant drip of Wolf Brand chili? What if I'm putting it in every like available opening in my body? My eyes are shit brown with Wolf Brand chili. Like, is that
You
too
don't know
long?
chili time. You don't know chili time. It's too long.
You know what I mean? I need to make more room for so like the formula is regardless of when the last time you just had Wolf Brand chili, that is too long. That is
Right.
insufficient. And the game is I'm an obedient child, right? I'm eager to please. So if you set me up to fail, it's tragic for me. I'm really going to try to win you over. And so that's a great game to exploit because you can build
Right.
upon that. Mhm.
You mentioned the formula. What you kept on mentioning formulas all the time, but you never actually explained to us what a formula is.
Yeah, that's actually great. So yes and is the most basic formula of improv.
Mm.
So that I'm thank you for calling that out. A game is essentially a formula you create in the moment that you can exploit. But there's all different types of formulas. So for instance, if you see a sitcom, usually there's like an A plot and a B plot, and they follow a formula. Different structures of improv have different formulas. So a herald is a very popular form of improv where you explore three different worlds and you heighten those worlds and then you tie them all together. That's a formula. So I think something that people don't realize is in improv is you are following formulas, right? Yes, and is the basic one. And so, yeah, that's actually such a great thing for you to ask. And now I'm just like, goodness, what kind of teacher am I to not mention that? But
Yeah,
that's
those
what's fun because
formulas, it gives you the insight into how these things look so unpracticed.
yes. So people come out and they're like, okay, like I'll come out of a show and they'll be like, all right, so how did you know what your name was? Like you know what I mean? Like what
Right.
part is rehearsed? Do you already know each other's names? Like they don't understand that it's completely built from nothing, right?
Right.
They're like, but the formula of yes and says once someone names me, that's my name.
Right.
Like that is the formula, right? So the formula is once something is brought into the world, it exists in the world and then you build upon that. And improv also, you want to make sure like it does not work in the yes and formula to bring something that contradicts something that's already been established, right? So if I'm like, Mom, what are you doing at my school? This is so embarrassing, right? My partner's job is to take the yes and formula of going, okay, baseline of the formula of the equation is I'm a mom, I'm at the school, and it's embarrassing that I'm here. So I'm going to yes and that. I'm going to accept that reality and I'm going to build on it. So the partner's job is to be like, yeah, kid, checking out my volleyball trophy. I wish you would audition for the team, you little punk, whatever. Or it could be like, yeah, I'm here checking out your third period teacher. Do you want another stepdad? Or it could be like, oh yeah, kid, I'm sorry. I realized my GED didn't go through. So we're going to be classmates, right? My job as a partner is to take that formula of what's been presented, the label and the statement of who I am and details about me. Yes, and that build upon that, right? The equation continues. But what doesn't work for the equation is to build something that contradicts. So if in a scene someone's like, Mom, what are you doing at my school? It's so embarrassing. You can't go, kid, who the fuck are you? I've never seen you before. Put a cigarette light out on them. It's funny because it subverts an expectation, right? But then what happens to the scene? It's over, right? Because the kid then goes, I'm sorry, prepubescent drugs. I have no sense of reality, because every kid probably knows who their mother is, right? Or you have to do an overstretching justification skill to apply that into a formula that makes sense, that everything is cohesive and balanced. So then you have to be like, oh, I'm an orphan, and I really hoped you were my mom because you have blue eyes like me. But then why would that be embarrassing, right? You have to like do all of this work to
Right.
make everything balanced in a formula. So at the end of the day, improv is building relationships and characters on the spot. You follow a formula that the rules of the universe make sense, that allows your audience to buy into a unique logic. But at the end of the day, you're just putting pants and hats on yes and. That's really all you're doing.
How do
You
you
know,
get, do you have like first class recurring fails, like the first unconfident new students always do first class?
couple things. They, for like pirates that I mentioned earlier, they'll want to actually pull jokes from what they see in stand up. That's a big one, where they're trying to be offensive or political. So we definitely get a lot of people who are just like, my penis is out, and it's like, okay, a stand-up can talk about their penis being out in an uncouth situation, you know what I mean, if they can get away with that tastefully. But you're actually like, you just watch some kind, probably CK, whatever.
Right.
You probably just watch someone who has shock humor, and now you're in a scene with another person who has to deal with your penis being out, right? And now that's not great. Another thing that they run into as far as like taking things from stand-up, they want to talk about like dangerous topics or political topics. They're like, I'm Hillary Clinton. Here's my pantsuit, because they think that is funny to make fun of Hillary Clinton, which in like sketches and stand up, it definitely can be. But now you're really requiring your scene partner to have a lot of wherewithal and knowledge and how to build a world based on Hillary Clinton and being responsible to something really, really specific. And it doesn't really give you the opportunity to create a world from scratch. If Hillary Clinton comes in later in a fully established world in a pantsuit and it is the perfect garnish to the steak and potatoes that have been laid down, amazing. But they're leading with things that are so loaded with meaning and content that it's so hard to organically build a scene from. Two, like people love to kill dogs or to joke about cancer or make a pedophile joke, which it's just putting so much work on your partner to have to navigate really dangerous content tastefully. And that's a big no-no for beginners. So trying to be too funny too fast. And it's one of the reasons why I say, I really don't care if you're funny. I need you to understand the formulas, and then we'll find the funny. That's a really big one with stand-up comedians, is just wanting to jump to the funny before they listen and they respond.
Yeah, it's our job. It's and we mistakenly think that our job applies to improv too, and it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one of the things with stand-ups is, and a lot of people do this with improv as well, but they're not really being spontaneous. They're writing really quickly in their head. I
Yeah.
fall into that too, because I have a writer's background. But improv really requires you to just really trust your impulses and build a really strong mind that's going to pull the right thing once you get those, like I said, those formulas downloaded, instead of writing quickly. Because what happens if you write quickly in your head, even if it's impactful in a scene, if it goes in a different direction that you're not writing towards, you don't have the ability to course correct. So for stand-ups, it's really, really difficult because they know how to be funny, but they don't know how to trust themselves in the moment because they're used to pre-baking work. And what's really great is for stand-ups, if they can kind of compartmentalize that skill set, not break that skill set, because that's a wonderful skill set to have, to be able to go and write in your room and then make it come to life on stage. It's a wonderful skill. But also, if you're too reliant on just that skill, you're not going to have the flexibility when your audience is not resonating with something.
Right.
So it's a wonderful, wonderful skill set for stand-ups to have, to be able to read the room, to listen and to adjust quickly and pull from what they know, but trust that whatever's going to come out of their mouth is going to be more applicable to what they're building in their relationship with the audience.
Good. What's the difference between Brittany on stage and Brittany teaching? Are there, are they the same person or are they different?
You know what? That's a really great question that I love to ask. Sometimes I honestly feel like I'm funnier when I teach because the goal is not to be funny. And
Right.
then I get to have a little bit more ninja energy, which actually is kind of something I'm thinking about now, because it's not laughs per minute. You know what I mean? I love teaching and I love being able to kind of like build stuff in the moment. Performance, Brittany. It's weird when my students are in the audience because then I put on my teacher brain and I'm not as good of a performer, hands down. I
Right.
think I'm better at compartmentalizing that, but it's like, I'm a rule breaker by nature, I think a lot of improvisers are.
Right.
Uh, and so, when it's perform time, it's playtime. But, I think sometimes when my students are in the audience, I definitely put on a little bit more of a teacher hat and want to be a little bit more technically correct, especially when they're learning fundamentals, right? But gosh, performance, Brittany, is just having a great time. I love improv. I think it's such a gift to your nervous system to be present and in the moment. I think it's such a wonderful gift to be able to connect with people. If you are a stand-up and you haven't taken an improv class, take one,
Yeah, for
preferably
sure.
with me because I'm good at it. But
Just ask
it's
me.
just ask me. Or do you teach improv?
I teach stand up.
You just teach stand up. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
take a class with Mike and then take improv from me. But I do
Together, it's the
think
1-2 punch.
stand up is a totally different comedic art form, even though there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
And I think improvisers can learn a lot from stand up, but I honestly think stand ups could learn a lot more from improv.
Yeah, I think it helps them with their act outs. It helps them with their creativity, helps them with their spontaneity, their crowd work,
Reading the
character
audience,
work, reading
so
the audience.
important.
Yeah. Listening.
Timing,
Yeah. Yeah.
all of
Just to
that.
learn how to listen is key.
Hmm.
And well, speaking of that, you see a lot of performers. What's a tiny adjustment you wish every improv student would make that you think might instantly like level them up, make them a little bit better? What could we do as a performer to level up?
That's a really great question. One of the things I love about teaching is that I think everyone has a specific block to who they are themselves. Like you really bring yourself to the table. And as a teacher, I love finding what the thing is.
Right.
Recently, something that I've seen quite a bit is where they're afraid of looking stupid and dumb in the moment. And I even see this on stage where people will kind of like shake their head and throw their hands up and they'll put their chin down and they'll kind of be like, I don't know, this is kind of stupid. We all do it, right? But what you're doing in that moment, your body language is communicating to the audience. This is probably not going to be good. And I know it. Don't hold me to a higher standard, right?
Right.
But what you're also doing is your body language is informing your inner life that I can't do this. I'm not very good. And I'm actually quite passionate about this. Your body language is very important. Your outer life informs your inner life as much as your inner life informs your outer life. So, like, I think most people know that if you smile, you get endorphins, right?
Yeah.
And because your body is like, oh, you're smiling, you're enjoying something. You must know something that I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and give you those endorphins in reaction to whatever you're enjoying, right? If you do a power pose, like a Superman pose, or if you're chin up, you're confident, your body's going, oh, you're feeling confident, you're not in danger, you're exposing your neck, it's the most vulnerable part of your body, like you're in a good place, I'm going to give you all of this confidence and power behind it. If you're chin down, if you're covering your neck, if you're shrinking in your shoulders, your body's like, ooh, you're not safe, I'm going to bring up your anxiety, your cortisol levels, so you can react quickly to whatever danger this is. I'm going to heighten your senses for potential threats so that you can leave the situation. And it's so funny to me too that even our language reflects our body language. So if you clutch your pearls, clutch your pearls, what is that? You're covering the most vulnerable place in your body. You're covering your neck.
Right.
Right? My jaw dropped. Why? You need oxygen to run if you need to, right? Your body is responding to shock, right? So, and there's language for it. If you look up to someone, you physically and figuratively look up to them. Your body language shifts. If you look down on someone, you physically and figuratively look down on them. And so, something that I see a lot with performers is where they know they're bombing. They know they're bombing, and what they do with their body is say, oh, I'm sorry. They put their head down. I'm sorry. I know this sucks. Right. And it's their way of being let off the hook and communicating something. But what they're actually doing is communicating to their body, you're not safe. You can't do
Right.
this. And what's going to happen then? Your nervous system, most powerful thing is going to be like, let's self-preserve, let's protect. It's going to immediately remove your creativity. It's going to immediately remove your ability to grab new and more ideas, right? So that's a big thing that I work on with students is anytime I see them with body language that informs their inner life that they're bad at this, I go, do it again, but confident. I don't care if you say it exactly the same way. Because here's what the thing is too. In order to laugh, you need to feel safe, right? Period. Comedy, especially with stand-up, takes people to a dangerous line, but it doesn't cross it, because once the line is crossed, you do not laugh, right? But it takes you to a dangerous line and it pulls you back, and your laughter is what your body does to feel safe. You laugh to release endorphins. You laugh if you're nervous, you laugh to feel safe, right? If someone steps on a rake and they wobble away, you go, ha ha ha, they're okay. If they bust an eyeball out, you're not laughing, right? So you need to feel safe to laugh. And when you as a performer are communicating, I don't feel safe with your body language, they're no longer going to feel safe watching you. They're not going to laugh, right? If you bomb and you own it and you're like, all right, we're in this together, and your body language stays confident, it's like, oh, I trust this person because they can roll with the punches. Like, that didn't land, but I trust them to figure it out because their body language is making me feel like they feel safe and in control. So I don't feel nervous watching them.
No, it's good. It's good because we signal to the audience from the time we get up on stage. I've always been taught that by every director, every producer I've ever worked for. Anything you do physically is sending a message to the audience, and your relaxedness is also sending a message, and your tenseness is sending a message. And I teach that to all my beginning stand-up students, that when you walk up to the microphone and then picking the microphone off the mic stand, all of that tells us who you are without you mentioning one word. When did you realize that you were good? When did you realize that this improv thing was something that you could do good at? Was it when you were young, or were you older?
Yeah. I'm a preacher's kid, you know what I mean? So my
Um,
mouth always got me in trouble, and being funny always got me in trouble, for sure. Not terrible trouble, but definitely made everyone nervous about me. And I think Tina Fey talks about it in her book Bossy Pants. It's like a lot of the best women in comedy are rebellious good girls. You know what I mean? Like
right.
that's the rebellion, is kind of having a mouth on you. I definitely feel like I fall into that. And kind of speaking to something earlier, I'll share a little story. I remember, because I always struggled with, your sense of humor is something to be developed, right? And definitely I've had, like I said previously, I've definitely had Babe Ruth experiences where I like swing and strike out very hard.
Right. Spin and
And
land on your ass.
yeah, exactly. And you have to develop it, right? When I was in my ninth grade AP English class, I remember this very clearly. I'm wearing like a American Eagle Bark in the Park little t-shirt, and we were working on creative writing, and we were given a notebook, or a guidebook for creative writing, and there was a glossary of terms that were labeled positive, negative, and neutral, right? So positive would be gorgeous, negative would be like hideous, and neutral would be something like blue. So you could be blue sad, or you could be a beautiful blue sky. And humor was listed as a negative.
What?
Yes, ask, and this is a lifelong thing that I've done. I've asked English teachers why humor would be negative, and they have all given the same answer. But first, I remember looking at that, and it was a time that I was really struggling with being funny, and having that as an identity piece. And especially at that time, we hadn't had a lot of like lady comedians. Like, women were seen as just not funny, and like women that were in comedies of any type, they were just hypersexualized and almost the butt of the joke, right?
Right.
So there's not a lot of and men were given permission to kind of be class clowns, where women were not, and just socially that was kind of seen as differently. So I remember kind of looking at that, and my heart sunk to my asshole. I was like, humor is bad, because I love to make
Wow.
people laugh. And I
Right.
went to
So
my
do I.
teacher. Yeah, and I went to my teacher and I was like, "Hey, why is humor negative? Wouldn't it at least be neutral, Because laughter is the best medicine. It can be good,
It's a
And
power.
and she said, "Well, think about it. We laugh when we make fun of people. We laugh when someone trips on a banana peel. If something is funny, you're making fun of it."
Someone
So,
does eat the cheese.
yeah. And that's always stuck with me because I've always wanted to be. So, if laughter is the best medicine, it's the best medicine to a wound, right? Like, I don't think people
For the
realize.
rest of us.
Yeah, yeah. No, truly though. So how do you create the results of laughter without creating the wound that we need the best medicine in response to? Because again, without going on a whole rabbit trail, laughter is a mechanism that our body gives us to feel safe and to heal. It really does. It's very healing. So how can we create laughter without creating the wound? And stand-ups have a really interesting job of taking you to that dangerous line and saying, haha, you're safe, right? Shock humor, all of the above. The shock of seeing something from a new perspective. But it's also a reason why comics like need to be making fun of themselves a little bit as well, right? But I've kind of been on a lifelong quest of like how to create humor in a way that's life-giving without tearing others down. And I think improv does a really great thing of that, because the comedy comes from the spontaneity and the teamwork and the building of something. And the relief of laughter is what happens when we take two contrasting ideas and put them together and create new meaning for it.
Yeah.
And it's the surprise of that that's one of the high contributors of giving your body that response of laughter. And so
Which I would call that the game. When you're
the game,
combining worlds and you're doing it repeatedly and heightening it, that's the game.
yeah. So to make a really long answer to a simple question, I realized that I was funny very young, and humor was always kind of given a negative connotation for me because it's dangerous. It has the potential to hurt people. As a woman, I was expected to be ladylike, and so I always really struggled with that. And so finding improv was such an incredible gift to me because it allowed me to safely, you know, build a sense of humor that was positive.
Right. What's an improv rule you think is misunderstood or like is overrated or something that the newbie looks at and says, I don't get it. Because
I think
yes and is a pretty basic rule, but it's pretty easy to understand.
I would say I could find an answer for that, but my first response is I think that people don't realize how powerful yes and is because
Yeah.
it's so oversimplified. Something that I teach, Mike, you have kids. I can
Yeah.
ask you this question. How many kids do you have?
Two, a 16-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son.
Nice. Okay, great. So when like a lot of times and when kids are in their early stages, their first words are going to be mom, dad, ball, or like something that they like, something that they enjoy. But then there's two words that I look for that are their first words. What were some of your kids' first words besides mom, dad, and like an object that they liked?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's fine. I'll allow it. No is a
That's
big
been a
one.
while.
Yeah, They're advanced stages. No is a big one. No, 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 no. I have about a 98% success rate on getting no as an offer up from
Oh,
parents.
gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
My
And the
kids, though, have learned yes and from the very beginning because they
they
listen
were
to
just
us and
like,
dad.
listen, you got to trust it. That's actually a great skill. And the other one is mine. So I think it's really interesting that your first words advocate for your survival. The first time you speak, it calls into the things that give you the opportunity to feel comfort and safety. Mom, dad is, these are my providers, my protectors. Ball, pancakes, these are some of my favorite things that give me comfort. But then it's really, no, I don't understand this. I don't like this.
Right.
I'm not going to allow it into my space because I don't know what it is and it doesn't come from me. And therefore, I inherently don't trust it. And then mine, once something is in my space and I like it, like my pancakes, that gives me sustenance and it gives me joy, and I'm not going to share it with you.
Yeah.
And so we live in such a world that's so divided and lacks creative connecting skills. But the thing is when you don't feel safe in your body and when you don't feel safe with other people, you will revert back to your survival skills of no and mine. I don't know what it is. I don't like it. I don't trust it. I'm triggered by it because it doesn't come from me and it's different from me. And then mine, like, this is my belief. That's an extension of myself. If you, if you don't agree with it, I fundamentally don't like you. And there's times to do that. Let me be clear. Like, the skill of yes and is a skill set. It doesn't need to be applied to everything. But when we learn how to trust ourselves and trust other people, we remove that no filter and we say, that doesn't come from me, but I trust myself and I trust you enough to allow it into my space and maybe even champion it. So yes and is the opposite of no mine. And like I said, there's time to get off the internet and close your doors. You don't want to be like, someone comes to your house, is like, knock, knock, I'm here to steal your television. Do you don't want to be like, yes, and come in and take my wife, you don't always use yes and in everything, but I actually think yes and is a little underrated because it is the skill set of trusting others and yourself, beyond just a formula for comedic effect. And that's why I think it makes people better at life, because you need to move past your infant skills of self-protection in order to have the best things in life, which is creativity, connection, collaboration, all of those things.
Good listening.
Good listening
requires you to listen.
Yeah. And then everything else is up for debate. As long as you get yes and, lean into what works for you. If you're a great character actor, lean into your characters, and then high tides rise all ships. But instead of a thing being overrated, I think yes and is actually underrated. I think it's a highly powerful tool.
I love that. And it's a life lesson that you can teach. I teach my kids that. And anytime there's a no but that happens, I flag it, come on, we can't think that way.
Right. It's a skill set that as you grow older, you need the discernment of when to use that as a powerful tool of progress, essentially.
So here's my last question, and then we'll see if Chris has any more. If you could design the perfect improv scene partner, like traits only, not a specific person, like what three qualities would they have? What do you like in your partner?
Blue eyes.
I have blue eyes.
A white beard.
I've got a white beard.
And then truly straight white male.
I'm honestly a straight white male. I'm perfect. I could be your scene partner.
Someone who can find the game as well as you can, Mike.
I can find the game all the time. Is that a game?
No, I guess someone who, there's definitely something about finding someone who balances your skill sets too.
Like you and Chris make great partners. When we do Mike to Mayhem, you guys, I love watching you guys work together because
that's so funny that you say that, because we actually rarely perform together.
Right.
And for listeners, Chris Hansen, not the pedophile catcher, the man from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He is my lover. He is my partner in crime.
My lover.
He and I have we hardly play. We like different games. Like when we do short form, because we're on a short form team together, we like the opposite games of each other.
Right.
So it is fun to be on Mike and Mayhem and actually perform with him more. But it's funny because I would say that we are not the most compatible with each other, especially in short form, because we just our skills gravitate towards different short form games.
Funny. Yeah, but in long form, you guys really listen to each other and you really play the game together well.
Yeah, so that's been another wonderful gift as well. But I would say the best scene partners, I mean, at the end of the day, they are there to have fun. They don't get too sweaty about it, you know, like
Right.
they're they're there to have fun. They're hyper flexible, you know, so if a scene starts going in another direction that's working, like obviously we want to build upon what exists, but you know, if someone walks on stage and kind of derails it, they can get back on track and make it work. So they're having fun, they're hyper flexible. And then also, I like people who can kind of push me in a scene, that they give good gifts to me, and I can give good gifts to them. So, especially like playing with Chris, he always plays like a gross drunk uncle. He's always just like, you know, just like, hey, I'm in a garbage can. And he's excellent at those characters. But one time we were like, given a scene, it was supposed to be like strip club, right? So I know that he's immediately going to be that gross cigar smoking manager that's like, all right, Candy, get out there to shake that out. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm going to be that character. You're going to be the sprite little 19-year-old that I'm boiling down. And it was a great scene. And he's actually a wonderful dancer.
I
Um,
bet. I bet he can shake that thing.
yeah. So being with people who you know each other well, and so that you can kind of challenge them to explore new opportunities instead of falling into the same rut, that's a really fun position to be in as well.
I like that.
Can you practice this by yourself, or do you have to be with a partner, or there's no equivalent of hitting golf balls in the driving range, or is there for improv?
There is something, it's hard because so much of what improv is relational, but just kind of like Mike Lucas, the incredible stand-up comedian, did for a level 2 stand-up class that I'm in now, is he had people like pull jokes, like just had a random topic. Even though I forced people to do topics that I wanted because I'm a
Right.
bitch. But he would just like have a random word generator, and then he was like, hey, write a sketch from this. But I think too, potentially even having that as your partner is like creating a word and then just literally talking it out loud like an insane person, instead of just having it in your head. Just immediately start talking and finding it, because that's going to build the skill set of trusting yourself that you're going to find it in the moment. And then also being able to do that without like disqualifiers, like, oh, hold on, let me say that again. You know what I mean? Immediately just start talking and trust that it's going to come to you, and that you can build that connective tissue in the moment. It's an insane thing to do, but I think that would be one way where people can trust their impulses instead of just like sitting down, looking at a page and potentially going, oh, that's not good enough to come out of my mouth. I'm going to wait till I have the perfect thing.
Like a ninja.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. Your insights are wonderful, and they really are applicable to stand up as well as improv. So that was what I was hoping would happen. Would you could, you know, have some of these philosophies and formulas that cross over, which is good.
Well, this is a delight for me because A, I love attention, and B, I just really enjoy you. And I will say that a lot of these questions were so excellent,
Well,
even though I kind of repurposed a couple of them to.
we have
Um,
one question we ask all of our guests at the end. Chris, if you want to formulate
Yeah,
that one.
we always ask everyone if you have an hour a day to work on your craft, and normally it's to stand up. If you have an hour a day to write material, do you have exercises, drills? What's the equivalent of doing 100 push-ups for your comedy chest? I guess in your example, what would be the hour a day if you had to devote to improv? How could they better
yeah,
improve
it's really
themselves by themselves?
one of the things that I actually am very passionate about currently, and I didn't mention this very much, but my background is like casting. I've done a lot of casting for voiceover. So I've cast for
Mm.
Netflix and Disney, and I've done a lot of really cool stuff there. So what I have found a lot is actors are so afraid to audition because they're so burnt out and they feel so horrific after an audition. It's tied to so much of their values and their hopes and their dreams, and am I good enough? And is this going to turn into the thing that's going to get me on a path that makes me hate myself less, you know? Which is, I think, something that's kind of universal for a lot of artists. And I think one of the things that keep people from actually taking that hour is because they don't have tools and skill sets in place to take care of their nervous system. So they spend that hour creating material, but they walk away being like, that was kind of shitty and that wasn't good enough. And they're self-judging themselves. And your brain is really smart, right? a retention of information is more often than not, it's information plus emotion. So if you have any kind of emotion around something, your body says, oh, you really like this, or oh, you really hate this. Oh, you really like this, let's do this more. Oh, you really hate this, let's not do it. And I think one of the reasons that artists don't perfect their craft is because they have so much self-judgment, and they have so much self-criticism. So if they take that hour, they have a vulnerability hangover afterwards. They feel miserable. They're judging themselves. And then it keeps them from actually going back and doing the work that is necessary for them to thrive. So if I were to do an hour a day, I would actually focus on the prep of that hour of leading me into a creative state where I feel safe, setting specific attainable goals, which is I'm going to spend 15 minutes writing X kind of joke. Setting attainable goals makes you feel in control, right? So set your expectations so then you can walk away and then go, when you're judging yourself, you say, yeah, but guess what? I met my goal of doing exactly 15 minutes, so I can feel good about myself. So then you have really important cool down session. So what that would mean is, one, I would have people in advance set attainable goals. Not write, hey, I'm going to write something that's really funny. That's subjective. I'm going to spend 15 minutes. I'm going to craft a joke that's unlike the kind of jokes that I do before because I'm really inspired by this person. I'm going to watch X person and I'm going to recreate their content in my voice. Like a really attainable, measurable goal. And then when they're done, I would make them do like a doodle or like a haiku or something that is silly, something that is creative, that is just for you, that you're not judging, because the whole purpose of it is to be present in the moment and to not get your next Netflix special. The whole purpose is to enjoy the creative process. So in my improv workshop that I did yesterday, it was a really long day, right? So I had people draw a bug and then create a dating profile for that bug. And I was like, you're not going to show it to anyone, but I need you to be quiet. They're on their feet. They're talking a lot. They're being vulnerable. They're revealing themselves. I want you to be self-smart. And I'm literally going to have you draw a bug. It was one of the most effective things in the entire workshop, right? So after you do your stand-up bit, after you set your attainable goal, you achieve your attainable goal, then you do a cool down of something that's creative just for you to enjoy the state of creative flow. That is not to be judged. That is only for your enjoyment, because your brain is really smart. So when you walk away from that hour, you say, I'm in control. I achieved an achievable goal. I enjoyed being in a creative state. And your brain says, let's do this again. One of the reasons why people hate public speaking, and it's the number one fear, which I would apply to stand up as well, it's because it is so deeply vulnerable for you to have a one-sided conversation in a room full of people. You will never get the feedback post that you need to feel good about yourself. If, like in a way that you really have to do a lot of self-work to take care of yourself, right? Even if people are laughing, it is a one-sided conversation. It's really easy to feel vulnerable because you're not going to get the feedback that's going to check every box in your brain, because it is one-sided, right? So how can you give yourself an attainable goal? So when you start to judge or you start to fill in the blanks from a one-sided conversation or feeling vulnerable, you say, I achieved my goal. I enjoyed being in the creative state of flow. So your body is like, let's do this again. We actually like this, right? Because so many people make themselves so miserable doing what they love because they don't have the tools to take themselves down from a creative high.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an important thing to condition yourself to be before, during, and after.
Mm-hmm. And we don't talk about that at all.
No, but that's a good point. Tell us what can we expect from you in the future?
Okay, so I am on Prime Time at Dallas Comedy Club. That's kind of the main show that I do almost every weekend at Dallas Comedy Club. It's at 8:30, so that's a great place to check out if you are in the DFW area. But of course, my favorite show ever right now is Mike to Mayhem, which the next show is on what?
First Friday of every month.
First Friday of every month. That's right. So the next one is in December 7th. So as long as Mike keeps inviting me back, I will be on that show. But any other stuff that I post is usually on Instagram, Brittany K. Taylor. That's BrittanyKayTaylor. And I am still like the head instructor for corporate events at Dallas Comedy Club. So you can reach out to Dallas Comedy Club. But I also have my own like private business. It's called BKT Creative. Please come and judge my website, which is in development, and say, wow, so much room for improvement. I can't wait to be a part of that journey. But it is really my delight I love doing corporate events. So please, if you found any of this remotely interesting, tell a decision maker at your dead end day job.
We want Brittany. That's great. Well, thank you for all of this. This is wonderful, and I've learned a lot, and I hope Chris has too, and I hope our listeners have. But thank you for stopping in and being our guest.
Oh, it's a delight. It's an absolute delight.
That was good, right?
I learned a lot.
Yeah,
I
I
like her
figured we had
term
it by now.
vulnerability hangover is really interesting. And that's so true. Even if you got laughs at an open mic, it felt like I still feel like a letdown. Like they weren't big enough laughs, even though it was the first
Right,
joke. But if you recalibrate your brain and teach your brain like just a small laugh is a huge victory, it's kind of like setting expectations. You kind of spoke at that, but I thought it was really good. Body language, I thought her stuff on body language is really applicable to the stand up. Even if you're bombing, as soon as you turn in and go bad body language, the mirror neurons of the crowd then feels even worse. And then you do work, then you
right.
spiral and you can't be creative.
And then your brain shuts down, and you're at a loss.
To laugh, you have to feel safe. So that was that was a note I wrote down. She's great at using examples too. Like the kid
Yeah.
says no in mine, and then very good teacher. You can tell she's a good teacher as she uses metaphors and storytelling in her own teaching.
Yeah. Yeah. She's good. All right, brother.
Thanks, Mike.
Talk soon.
See ya.
See you.